Hi, welcome back to Ultra Chill. Today we have with us one of the largest crypto influencers on YouTube, the infamous Hustle from Hustlepedia and Crypto Banter. Recently, Hustle had Nicholas on the Crypto Banter show, and they talked at length about Ultra's history, our plan, and potential legacy. If you didn't get a chance to hear about it, here's a card for you. But with Hustle's help, I want to dive into how crypto influencers both affect and are affected by the projects that they study, hype, talk about. So let's flip the script and interview the interviewers. Welcome, Hustle.
I appreciate you having me. I am an avid listener of the podcast. I love what you do with the show, and I'm excited to just, like you said, flip the script a little bit. We don't get to talk about this side of things a lot, so I'm excited to just kind of dive into it's almost like the business of content creation and cryptocurrency and how it plays a role. I'm excited.
For anybody that doesn't know what you and your crew do, can you give us quickly an intro?
Absolutely. So on the base layer, I'm the host of the In the Game show on Crypto Banter. We have north of 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, and that's Crypto Banter is our channel. I have a live show Monday through Friday there. I also have a personal YouTube with a little over 60K, which is Hustlepedia. And then I also obviously, I provide value across the marketplace in crypto gaming, metaverse, and NFT specifically. I deep dive into projects and try to dig into the value within every spectrum, whether it's a token, whether it's the project itself, the team. You have to dive deep, and we'll talk about that in this episode. So I just kind of do all the due diligence and then try to provide the value to my audience. And once NFTs came into the fold, I really just pivoted towards that and creating content towards Web3 gaming instead of traditional gaming where I was playing every day. I saw the evolution. I've bought skins in games before, so that led me to Web3 gaming content creation.
Was that really kind of the aha moment for you?
Definitely, and it was when Axie Infinity was rising, and I didn't really. How can you make money? What is a play to earn game? I think everyone comes across that question at some point, and I was playing a lot at that time, Call of Duty, Warzone tournaments, really spending a lot of time grinding the games. And I've spent money in games before on battle passes and skins. And it just clicked in my mind, like, I can't resell any of this, even if you make only like 0.1% of players can actually make money through their skills on any given game. So it's like the odds are very against you in that retrospect. So I saw that, and NFT gaming provides the big O opportunity to a lot of people.
What I really wanted to cover today was the way that people like you view the crypto landscape. I've had this view for a long time that crypto is really kind of like a giant leaderboard with market caps defining the position of, the players. What I think that projects are really doing is trying to kind of compete in that space for access to hype. And they do so through coming up and implementing with the craziest, most innovative feature sets that the team can get done, right? So what do you think of that idea? And is it, from your perspective, accurate that hype is what drives the industry?
Yeah, so let's just talk about crypto gaming in specific. Most people, and look at the games. Most of the biggest titles,
Not great.
Right now, right? Yeah, most of the biggest games now aren't the best. Most of the biggest games are either late this year or years away. I won't name drop certain projects, but some projects maybe who knows if they'll drop, right? So, and unfortunately speaking, if you look at Steam on just a percentage basis, I think it's 99.5% of games on Steam have a player base of less than 500 per month. So games die very, very rapidly. Right. And if we think that all these little Web3 games that are popping up are just going to have player bases, I think most people are investing on speculation and hype at the moment, which is why I try to dumb it down into different sectors and try not to bank as much on, let's just say in gaming industry is a game. I like to back on infrastructure, blockchains, studios, distribution protocols, stuff like that. That's going to be pushing out and helping other games have a mass distribution, and they're behind 10 titles. Or as you said, like Nicholas said, he blew my mind when he said you'll have 100 publishers. So what would I rather back, one game or 100 publishers? That's the kind of stuff I kind of have to weigh right now. But definitely announcements, speculation, hype definitely drives the market, especially in a bullish market, because it doesn't matter the project, because a crypto gaming token can just start going crazy.
I think that lifetime of a game is actually like a kind of an interesting thing that we can talk about real quick. especially in the context of NFTs, because what you're actually talking about is like the life cycle of a business, right? And when you're a game developer, what you're actually doing is you're building for sometimes like years, and then you have like the lifetime of the game, where if even if it's a success is 2 years, 3 years, something like that, and if it's not a success, you're talking in the matter of months, like you said. And the opportunity here for NFTs is to constantly, consistently drop content to like involve player base. And what you're actually doing is driving that hype cycle within the context of the business that you're trying to build, right? And that's interesting from like the perspective of like both the developers, but also from the users, because like the game that they're playing is evolving over time.
Right. And if you look at one example, Splitgate was a really hot game this last summer, Web 2 game.
Hmm.
It came out in the middle of like Warzone, Apex Legends, and all these like battle royales that were kind of stagnant and not really coming out with the new content. And they went from 300 active players to 36,000 active players. Just 3 months later, they were back down to 1,000 monthly active players. So, even when your game picks up those hype cycles, you have to maintain it. The gaming life cycle, this industry is volatile. And I know, Ultra, all your background and the whole team's background in gaming and games, y'all have seen the inner workings of studios. They'll cut the floor, they'll cut the budget on a project. They'll
Yeah.
say, no matter what, this is the deadline. If it's not done, we're pushing out a game, even if it's bugged or not. So,
Yeah.
studios are pretty cutthroat, and so is the whole business.
Yeah. So what makes you pay attention to a project?
So I think I kind of go by some pillars. I kind of every single project I have to run by the core pillars. So if you don't meet basically every single one of these to a degree, then I'm probably not going to at least be willing to dive deeper, and then also being willing to present it to my audience. And my motto is, if I'm not willing to invest in it myself, I would never present it to an audience. So that's first
Right.
and foremost. But I go by 8 pillars, and it would be product. So what are they doing? Utility, is it actually going to be used? It's one thing you have a scope, but is it going to be utilized? And like Ultra's platform, for example, there's so many layers to it, that developers, that players, the NFT marketplace, the redistribution of games, the secondhand distribution sales for developers, for example. So boom, utility is checked. And then you move over to progress. Where are they at in their roadmap? I definitely like to take a look at that. Do they hit their marks or do they miss their marks? I obviously take a look at the team in blockchain gaming is huge, because I know you can look on LinkedIn and see someone says they worked on Call of Duty, but they might have been a beta tester or something, and they say they worked with Activision, but their LinkedIn history says 1 month. So you have to really pay attention who's been moving in the space, who's been moving in Web3 gaming, who's actually built real businesses, who are their partners, who's willing to back them. Like, let's just say Ultra, for example, you'll have Ubisoft, y'all are with, I believe it's Theta, you'll have Sandbox, Atari, you'll have a bunch of top tier partners as well.
AMD.
Yeah, AMD, boom, Fortune 200 company, I believe. And then if it's a game specifically, gameplay loop is super important. What niche is that game in, or what niche is the product in? Is it a first person shooter? Is it a battle royale? Is it a strategy card game, open world, etc.? And then the economy, which also encompasses the community. Because as much as speculation plays into things, just like in the NFT space, community matters. Like Ultra's community, for example, very strong. And having a strong community in this space provides you a backing and people who are always behind the project. And it kind of creates, always there's a hype. On Twitter, there's always a hype about Ultra, for example. And then if it's a game, how healthy is the economy? So those are my 8 pillars right there.
Pretty solid. I was going to ask like what made you pay attention to Ultra, but like in the context of that, it's really kind of obvious what made you pay attention.
I've been a gamer for most of my life. Even before I started competing in Call of Duty, I've been playing, games since I was like 6 years old on, my brother and sister's Nintendo 64, all the way up to PlayStation 2, playing the Grand Theft Auto Vice Cities when my mom didn't want me to. And then growing up, getting the Xbox 360, I've really seen the graphics evolve, the studios evolve. Like Gears of War, I remember, came out one of those first premier flagship games on Xbox 360, and was
Yeah.
just so graphically sharp. So I've like seen those stages, and it just all clicks with me. And I feel like we're at that bottom of the curve right now with this industry. And I feel like you guys are shaping up to be the Steam of blockchain gaming. But not only that, y'all are having this distribution, and with these exclusive titles, y'all really have a unique niche you're carving out here, which I love.
Yeah, we're going to be talking more about those exclusive titles real soon. So hope you guys are paying attention.
You know, my ears are to the wall.
Um, Getting the pitch for a project across to the wider crypto community includes guys like you and is really part of what a team does in the early stages of development when they're like, they've conceptualized it and then they want a community, they want to involve people. So that's kind of what a white paper is for. Do you read them?
I do. I'll be honest. There was one time, in the bull run where things were going so well, ton of projects, but there was one sour apple in the batch, and I didn't really see parts of the white paper, and it did come back to bite me at one point. Just an example. At that point, I realized that there is so much more to it than all the late. You have to peel through every single layer of a project. So yeah,
Right.
from that moment, I think that was like October, November area, right when the market did start to go back down. Ironic, like it was about Thanksgiving probably.
Right.
But yes, I think reading the white paper, if you're if you are presenting, especially, you have to be on point. You have to read every single detail about the project because at the end of the day, there's so many people out there who rely on content, who rely on information, and we're not the people telling you what to invest in. But my value is I just want to inform you on the project because there's too many people in the space who will just say, I like this coin, it could 3x, not financial advice. I like to just go, I love this platform because of X, Y, Z. This is what they're doing. This is behind it. This is what I'm doing. Do your own research at that point. I lay out all
Right.
the facts, all the value I can, and just play it with the most educational aspect I can.
So what's the best white paper that you've come across, and what made it special? Not just like which was the best one.
That's really hard. That is really, really hard. The best white paper I've ever come across.
It's a really broad question also because like if you're looking at like a whole multitude of different niches, yeah, what type of projects are you really interested in? And that's kind of like giving a view into like what you value, like not just as a gamer or as a crypto influencer, but like as like somebody in the space, like what do you value?
I would say early stages. Early stages, a couple white papers that I really love are Mobland, Mobland. The guys behind that project, the investors behind that project are huge. It's like a mafia metaverse. For example, their syndicate economy. So within the economy, you build basically mafias, which are their syndicates, and you work within a team, and that's a DAO within itself. I would say their white paper is probably the most thorough I've seen to this point because of the economic structures. They're going cross chain. I would say Mobland's white paper if I had to pick one.
So it's something that I talked about with Nathan, my brother, yesterday or the day before. That I really don't like the moniker "play to earn" because I think that it's terrible. I think it sends the wrong message about what we're actually trying to do, and economy is what's really interesting there, right? Because like when you're playing games like I played a lot of World of Warcraft, like a lot, and when you're talking about the interesting parts of that game, the buying and the selling of what you have in your inventory is an experience unto itself, and that's like true across a lot of different games. And when we're building out like a game, what you're actually talking about is providing an experience for users, right? And like the economy part, there's so much there. Like there's so much there. And I'd love for people to focus more on that stuff instead of the earn, which is not really what's interesting there.
Here's the issue with the space right now. A lot of games you get into with the expectation that I spend X to earn Y. And that should
Mm,
not be the case. With these tokenomics that some people would term Ponzi-nomics is definitely the hot word for
right.
that. But for example, when there's liquidity involved and there's a lot of scholars in the economy or just players looking to get that ROI because the expectation is that every single player can earn. I think that's false. I think the long term shift needs to just go back to progression. The World of Warcrafts, the Call of Duties. You've reached level 2. You have unlocked this item. And in
Yeah.
my opinion, all that the marketplace has to be is facilitated by the game. And the game just puts up the smart contract, allows players to operate instead of moving to third party websites like they've done on World of Warcraft and RuneScape for years to sell their accounts. You can go sell your asset, and the game just takes a percentage from the marketplace, just like OpenSea does, by the way.
Right.
They don't have to pump liquidity into these tokens. I don't know. I don't know how this hasn't clicked or how that hasn't been integrated, but all that a game has to do is make a good game, make assets that are worth trading that you have to unlock as you progress through the game, and then the players will dictate the marketplace.
Yeah. The issue there, of course, with ROI is that, you have to put an investment in the beginning. And like, I don't know about other people, but I'm not up for that. Like, I don't want to play a game where I have to dump $1,000 worth in ETH to like go and play the game. That's not fun.
Traditional gamer that, and they're out. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what that sounds like? That sounds like a fucking scam. That's what that sounds like.
And I think that's the whole negativity behind it. No, most I've spent on a game maybe is like a deluxe edition that was like $100, right? So I don't think $1,000 sounds entertaining to anybody.
When you found a project that you like and you want to share it with your community, what's your internal process like for, breaking it down and kind of determining the value so that you can explain it to your community?
In my opinion, it's the pillars. Would I invest in the project, or am I invested in it? Am I willing to share that value and that risk with an audience? Because at the end of the day, I'm sharing it with 500,000 people. So I definitely have to weigh that. And quality is the most important. And if it's something that I'm doing, I feel confident sharing that.
Can we talk about that for a second? Like 500,000 people, that's a lot. That's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of power. And I think that creating content for a community is a really interesting, complex, addictive process. It becomes part of like a much larger discussion, an international discussion, which is both really appealing and at the same time can be really overwhelming. So I think for the last question that I'm going to pester you with today,
Not pestering me at all. You're fine.
how do you manage that discussion on a personal level? Like, how do you maintain balance to ensure that you keep creating content, but that you're okay?
Yeah. So I think everything, YouTube comes and goes with the market, and so does the sentiment of communities sometime. I will be honest. In the bull run, I was everyone's hero on my channel and on Crypto Banter. But when the market goes down, what can I do to stop that?
Yeah.
I tell people to take profits, and I tell people, get out of your small caps, because small caps are going to go down 70% if Bitcoin dips 30%. But people always like to throw blame around, and sentiment changes with the market. And I think at the end of the day, it'd be one thing if I was telling people to do things I wasn't, or if I was saying to keep buy. I always just try to give people the strategy and the playbook. And I think mental health in this is really hard for content creators. You can get burned out. You can
Yeah.
read the comments in a negative market. You got me into this because you talked about it and the market crashed. So it's your fault. Okay, sure. My fault that Bitcoin corrected 50%, right? But when the market's up and everyone's making money, no one can do wrong. You're awesome. Thank you so much. You changed my life. So that disappears very quickly. I just try not to read that stuff, to be honest. I stay in my own lane. I have a clear mind on everything I'm trying to accomplish. And I just want to make an impact in Web3 gaming. When people look back at the space that develops in years, when studios are fully implementing NFTs into their games, when Ultra's to the point where I think it's going to go, for example, I just think NFT gaming is going to take over. I just want to be at the forefront of the education and providing value in that industry. And I would just like to be one of the leaders in that.
That's cool. I appreciate the honesty. Listen, I also appreciate your time today. I know that you're flying out to, it's NFT Miami, right?
We're going to go out there. We're going to speak and just kind of network and see what's going on. I'm excited.
Very cool. Fun to live on the bleeding edge, right?
This industry is a fun one for sure.
Totally fun. All right, man. See you next time. I appreciate your time. Keep it ultra chill.